Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to wake the world up to what's possible. And here today to help me with that mission is one of the most amazing author experts of the new book that we have coming out called Love Warriors, The Conscious Expert's Guide to Healing, Joy, and Manifestation. Welcome, Jessica Harvey.
Thank you, Laura. I'm glad to be here.
I'm super happy to have you here, and I can't wait to chat with you about this topic. So you guys, Jessica Harvey is the owner of Jessica Harvey Therapy, with over 11 years in private practice, helping clients with relationship issues, anxiety, and the desire for personal growth. So Jessica, thank you so much, first of all, for being willing to share your story in this book and really for the incredible master teachings you're sharing too. You guys, this book is full of golden nuggets like Jessica's, nuggets of awareness, right? That we're going to help you put into practice to really have shifts in the moment. And I can't wait to share with you all of these amazing things. But Jessica, why don't you share a little bit about your chapter with us?
Sure. My chapter is called The Alchemy of Joy. And I chose this topic because typically in the psychotherapy world, we're focusing a lot on what is not going right. And that happens all the time. And that's what we're there for in large part. And the joyful parts of life and pursuing joy often get left on the back burner. And I think it's important to intentionally take time and energy to focus on that as well.
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, so there's this conversation that I end up having a lot with different kinds of healers and therapists, and it's about your focus. And, I'm a very positive thinker. I am a law of attraction gal. I'm also a healer, and I understand that you can't shove your feelings down just to be positive. There's a process that you have to be in to heal. But what about that in terms of like, if you're never shifting to the focus of joy, you're never going to be vibing in that vibe of it. And I don't see where the shift can happen unless you can consciously do that. What's your take on that?
You're right. I think you cannot, the only way out is through, right? So if you have, some painful emotions going on, you must get through them in order to be able to focus on the joy. And sometimes people don't take those opportunities. So this is how joy can grow out of those more difficult experiences. You go through it, and then hopefully you have the space and the insight to refocus on your joy because you've been through this difficult experience, and hopefully you've learned something. But not everybody is intentional about that. And I guess I just wanted to draw a little bit of attention to that.
Okay, so you go through it, and I'm going to just play with you for a minute. Like, how do you know you're done and you can focus on the joy? Like, is there a done point? Is there like a tip we can give people? Like, okay, so here's, this quote for me is like, with awareness, I have a choice. I'm going to give myself permission to feel everything and really move through. Like you said, you got to go through it. But
Mhm.
for people who are weeks, months, years later, and they still feel in it, how do you guide them then?
I mean, typically, I mean, okay, we've got a couple of different things. One is there are some painful experiences that will stick with us long term: grief, trauma, these kinds of things. And so it's more of like a chronic management. Like, how can that be a part of our lives and still we make space for some of these other things? Versus a lot of people who may have been avoiding. And when you're avoiding, you're just dragging out the painful experience instead of fully dealing with it. Um, Obviously, everyone has their own process, but the client or the individual, like, you're going to know when you're okay. And if I have questions like, this thing still seems to be going on, I will absolutely bring that to their attention because there is some denial and avoidance at times. But if you feel like you have the bandwidth to move forward and focus on something that could leave space for and create joy in your life, then great, it's worth a shot.
I think you just dropped some really golden nuggets there. I appreciate that. There is a way to continue to work on that grief if there's a long-term trauma or grief situation, but you can have a little bit of joy also. You can have both things happening. Super important.
Mhm.
So I think that you've already been talking about what it means to be a love warrior, but I wanted part of that definition to be about showing up with the knowing that our vulnerability is part of our strength. That was one way I defined it.
Okay.
So, Jessica, why are you a love warrior?
um, I've spent a lot of time for a long time putting my energy into supporting people and creating love and joy in their lives. And of course, overcoming the obstacles as well. It is sort of my daily mission. And, obviously I do it professionally. Sometimes I find myself doing that, with people in my own life, trying to support them in that way. Sometimes our job bleeds over into our lives. But I mean, gosh, it's been kind of a mission for, yeah, at least 11 years now. And that's just in private practice before I was working with other clients. Um, and they didn't always have the same opportunities to search for joy because they're more in crisis. And so to be able to do this in some ways is a real privilege, to be able to focus on finding your joy. It means that, things are manageable enough in your life that you have that opportunity to take.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Sometimes it takes a bit to get there, and you need somebody who is, well, I mean, I think you need a lot of things in that person in terms of the best match for you. And, I guess it's good to talk to our listeners today too, because, some things you can move through on your own, but many times you just need a little bit of a guide, a mentor, a support person, a professional therapist who really knows what they're doing, but also can help you with the energy shift. You've been talking a lot about, the alchemy of joy. Like, I love those words, first of all. But maybe you can help us too with, how do you find the support when you don't have any yet?
For any individual.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, it's always my hope, and I'm very hopeful that the attitude towards mental health in general is shifting, societally, and that people, I obviously would encourage them to seek a therapist. Um, Number one, that hopefully that's the stigma is reducing and that people feel more comfortable to do that. And even if you feel a little bit of discomfort, again, that's where like growth and change happens at the point of discomfort. So obviously that seems like a first, to me, obvious step, of course, because that's what I do. But additionally, it's so important that we all have, natural supports in our life, people who are supportive, warm, empathetic, to call upon when we need support, and hopefully we can be mutually supportive to them. And maybe it's time to, take inventory, take stock. Who are you spending your time with? Do you feel supported by them? Do you want to make any changes? Um, because we're interdependent, we are wired for connection. And so it's a need almost. We all need to have that as humans.
Yeah, you said something a minute ago that I wanted to kind of rewind to for a sec,
Sure.
that I think is really important. If you feel a little discomfort, that's right where growth and change happen. So if I could do anything for people, it would be to allow them to have the awareness to pause when they're feeling that way, because we're so conditioned and it's so habitual to
Mhm.
run away from that feeling like instantly, right? Yeah, anything else you wanted to say about that?
I mean, I think you're absolutely right. There's so much avoidance. We're very, like, historically, as a culture, we've been very much all about sweeping things under the rug, but that they're not gone. They just, the pile under the rug grows, and then you can see it and you can't avoid it anymore. Um, and reframing this as an opportunity. It's not something to run away from. It's something that can either facilitate growth and the movement towards joy, or you can avoid it and it will, in fact, just stay how it is, or persist, whatever the issue is, if it goes unaddressed.
Yeah, or become toxic. You're giving me this lovely visual of a lump in my rug that's going to trip me if I keep
Exactly.
letting it get bigger, right? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So aside from this chapter in the book, thank you for that. You have a lot of other stuff going on. Tell us about, how you work with people, what you have going on in your business right now, all the good stuff.
Sure. Yeah. I have, I mean, I love doing the one-on-one work with people, and I'm always, I should say always, but I'm usually taking more people on, and licensed in California and Oregon. Of course, everyone has their limit, but I have a larger limit, I guess, than some folks. And so I love, meeting new clients and doing work with them that way. I definitely have been doing work. I don't know if I mentioned, I do a lot of work with people who are dealing with pet grief with it, which is not always validated by the people in their lives as much as the loss of a human, even though it can impact them just as much. So I've talked with the New York Times a few times about these issues, and working on figuring out if there's a particular structured program that's in the early stages that I might be able to provide for people going through that.
Oh, I love that you mentioned that. That's so huge for people. Those furry beings, souls are parts of our family.
Yeah,
And yeah, the feeling, you're right, is just as big. Actually, sometimes I think it can be even worse, even bigger,
yeah,
with a being that is so about unconditional love.
exactly.
Yeah, it's a big
And
deal.
there are roommates, and few people live with us, so we're with them all the time. In addition to the unconditional love piece, I think are two factors that make it so painful.
So, one of the biggest missions that I have with every Brave Healer Productions book is to help our readers live extraordinary lives. And no matter where you are on your journey, you guys, these books will help you to answer this question: what else is possible, right? So, Jessica, what is one simple stepping stone you'd like to share with the listeners today that will help them start that journey? What do you want them to know?
I think I talk about this a little bit in the chapter, but I guess I would like to really underline it, which is focusing on your wants. We absolutely need to address our needs. I know it's a little redundant. That's important. We've got to do it. And there's a lot of focus on that. And that's great because it's necessary. But people kind of dismiss their wants as unnecessary a lot of times. And wants can facilitate a lot of the joy. Like, yes, I need to have food. Yes, I need to pay bills. All of these things are true, and we can't go far without them. But in order to allow ourselves and give ourselves permission to focus on the things that we just want to, because we just enjoy it, is not a permission that everyone gives themselves. And it's kind of robbing yourself of an opportunity of moving towards joy. So I guess I would encourage people to at least start to acknowledge and identify what some of the wants are.
Yeah, this topic, oh my goodness, is so important. So I'll let everybody pause there for a minute. Have you given yourself time to even think about what you want selfishly? I'll go ahead and use that word because we all know that self-care is not selfish.
Right.
But what do you want? Have you given yourself time to think about it? Have you given yourself time to journal about it, meditate on it, right? Really important to start there. Yeah, because the spark of joy comes from that place. It doesn't come from checking off the to-do list of what everyone else says you should want,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Exactly. And owning our own wants, right, is instead of our shoulds, which, gosh, I wish we could just completely throw out the shoulds,
Please.
get rid of them. Um, but yeah, you use the word selfish, and that's another thing I talk about a lot with my clients is selfishness gets a bad name, in my opinion. You know, hurting other people. I think people conflate that with in some way hurting somebody else, which is not true. Allowing yourself to indulge in the things that bring you joy is, in my opinion, a human right whenever we're able to. It's not every moment we're able to, but yeah, you're important too. We're each important, and no one's gonna, pursue our joy for us. So it's our responsibility and it's our privilege.
That is certainly true. No one's going to do it for you guys. Okay, y'all. So if you heard something today, I know you did, something Jessica said that made you curious, made you come up with a question, or you need some support, remember to just scroll on down to the show notes because I've hooked Jessica up there with her website and you'll be able to connect with her there. And honestly, you guys, Jessica and all of our other authors are very generously there for you to answer that question and to give you the support and to help you with what that next step might be for you in your healing journey. Take that next step, explore what she has going on because it's a lot of awesomeness. Jessica, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with us.
Well, thank you, Laura. I appreciate that. Thanks for having me.
All right, you guys. So a big mission of these books is to give you these experts and the community that you need for healing, joy, and manifesting that amazing life that you want to live, right? So you are invited to our book club group on Facebook where you can rub elbows with our authors and ask these questions and continue these amazing conversations that we started today. So come on down for that link. And also please join us for the live stream book launch party for Love Warriors. It's going to be in the new year, January 6th, right? 23. So we're going to be on the Brave Healer Productions Facebook page. And I have you hooked up with the link down below for that as well. And if you're listening anytime around that date, the book is due out the 3rd, I believe I'm getting that right. So that means you can head to Amazon about that time and pick up your beautiful copy of this book. And lastly, today, everyone, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So if you're ready to become one of the next Brave Healer Productions best-selling authors, yeah, it's time to be brave. Visit us at bravehealer.com. See you next time, everyone.